Hello, everybody. I'm Tal Blevins with IGN. We are here with Brian and George from In Exile, and we are going to be excitedly seeing some of the first parts of Torment Tales of Numenera today. This is a Kickstarter, very successful Kickstarter. You're up to about 5 million already, and a spiritual successor to Planescape Torment, if any of you played that back in the late 90s. One of the first games I played when I first got to IGN, actually. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, we're happy to be here and happy to finally be showing it off after, it's been almost 3 years since we did that at Kickstarter, and there's been a tremendous amount of effort and work by these guys, and they've done a phenomenal job. So it's fun. It's fun to be out talking about it.
Yeah. Finally being able to see the game as well. This is something that's exciting. You want to give us a little background into it? I'm an old school RPG player.
Yeah.
Certainly played Bard's Tale, played Wasteland 2. I mean, I've been playing since RPG since since I was super little.
Yeah.
Planescape, the original one, was very different than a lot of the traditional fantasy RPGs out there. And what you're trying to do, with Torment is you're not in the exact same world, but you're, using, it's a spiritual successor. You're using a lot of the same ideas and the same, philosophies behind that.
Right.
But it's a kind of a strange fantasy world. It's not something you're used to. It's not like your normal elves and dwarves. Can you tell us a little bit about Numenera?
Yeah, I think that was, some of the great appeal for Planescape Torment is it's the otherworldliness of it all, and that it is so strange and it's taking you to another place. And these kind of games are very, they rely on the written word. This game has an excess of 500,000 words and still counting.
Yep.
Wow.
Which still rising rapidly.
Yeah, so to give you a point of reference, that's more than the Lord of the Rings trilogy combined. I think we're coming up on War and Peace, and only the Bible we have to pass in terms of total words. And so that's why, demoing it here today, you can imagine trying to get that across in a short period of time is not easy. But I think that's what people really gravitated towards. And if you were to compare it, like a lot of games are like going and watching Die Hard, like an action film. This kind of game is like curling up with a good book. You want to sit there and really just absorb what's there. And the universe itself, Planescape Torment, was created by three guys, two of which were Monty Cook and Colin McComb, and those two guys are both helping create this game.
That's great.
And we're using Monty Cook's Numenera universe. And what this universe is, it's Earth. You're on Earth. It's 1 billion years in the future, and it's they call it the ninth world, which is that there were 8 civilizations that have come and gone since then, and we're in the 9th.
Or so the people believe.
Or as George likes to point out, or so people believe. So theoretically, there could be more.
Yeah, it's their understanding of the world.
That's right. And so when you go back 1 billion years, this sort of the technology seems magical, of course, and people they haven't really harnessed it. They don't know what it all does. And there's a guy, the Changing God. He's used it to become immortal, and through it. He creates these. He uses people's bodies, and when he jettisons the last one, it becomes a cast off, and it becomes conscious. And you are the last cast off.
So the last one that the Changing God has jumped into, or jumped out of, I guess I should say.
Out of,
the last one.
So he creates these bodies, and then each time he leaves one, a new consciousness forms in that body. A lot of times he leaves them in really horrible situations, though. It's like, oh, I'm being attacked. I'm surrounded by monsters. I better jump to another body. And then that guy is born surrounded by monsters and about to be killed. So not all of them survive necessarily, but a bunch of them do, and you're one of the ones that is actually left in a really horrible situation, which we'll see shortly.
Right. Well, why don't we jump in, George? Why don't you take us in? I'm excited to see it.
So let's start a new game.
People talk a lot about they want totally unique games. Why do things have to be Me Too? This is exactly what I think they're talking about. This product is unlike anything else. I mean, we're really trying to create art with something like this.
I guess we should say, too, this is going to be on Early Access Steam next week. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And it's going to go to some of our backers from Kickstarter this week.
This week.
A little bit earlier.
Great. Lucky them.
So you'll notice here we have both a male and female cast-off you can pick from. In the original game, there was just the male character. Now we've got a female version as well. But I'm going to stick with the male because I'm male. Okay, so your mind wakes in darkness. Aching cold sets into an unfamiliar body. A distant howling surrounds you, louder with each passing second. Insistent and invisible hands slap and tear at the membrane that protects you. I think I'm actually speaking over the narrator, but I'm not sure if the narrator is actually audible.
Yeah. Is the audio coming through for them to hear?
Yes,
we can't
it
hear
is.
it. Okay, all right. So yeah.
So you
just have to remember when he talks and when he doesn't, right?
Okay. Yep. So I won't do that again. But we are falling.
I liked your read though, George.
Yeah, no,
excellent.
It was a good read.
That's why we got him here. He's got the perfect voice.
We can record that and use it. All right. So let's continue.
is an involuntary and formless panic. You feel you have forgotten
I can hear it now.
something.
Yeah.
Something
Dim.
important. As if it once meant the world to you. But the details slip away as you grasp at them.
Okay.
force
So
your
you
eyes
force your
open.
eyes open. So, Tal, what do you want to do? Look at this body or look around?
Let's look at the body.
All right.
The
Who
body
wouldn't
is-
want to look at the body?
Wait, you are wearing a form-fitting suit of some dark material. You recall that you were wearing something much more elaborate a short time ago.
One of the
You
things
have
that's also
smooth,
great
light
about this
brown
game,
skin,
Tal, is it's
5 fingers on
that
each hand, 5 toes on
there's
each
these
foot.
just discreetly
Good
different
muscles,
types of
strong, but not
gameplay, and like
bulky.
this is one particular kind,
slim
and then you're going to
hips.
go where you're
Your
in
palms
people's
are soft,
minds and that sort
as
of a
if they
different
have not
thing,
done
and then
much
there's
labor,
more of a
but
straight up
scars and burns
sort
on
of
the hands
Baldur's
and
Gate
wrists
type game, and
suggest
then
that
there's
you
these
haven't always
things
been
called
careful.
mirrors, which are more like
Why can't
choose
you
your own
remember
adventure.
this?
So like
Without
the
warning,
cadence
the
of the
cocoon
game
that
is
surrounds
constantly
you shreds
changing,
and tears
so you're
away.
never doing the same
You are
thing ever.
falling.
Right.
The world is many
So here we
kilometers
have
below you.
the horrible situation that the Changing God has left you in. You are falling from the upper atmosphere toward Earth, and there doesn't seem to be a lot you can do about it. But here are some options. What do you want to do?
I'm going to flatten out to catch the wind.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Instinctively, you spread your arms and legs, and they respond sluggishly. You stop tumbling head over heels. Though you are still spinning laterally, that motion has calmed as well, and you have space to assess your situation, and perhaps to understand the predicament and the body in which you find yourself. Below you, you see a large landmass. A massive ocean dominates the rest of the visible globe, dotted here and there with island chains. Small moons, unusual structures, and strange machines rush past you in glittering profusion as you plummet toward the ground.
Oh,
Now, let me jump in here. There was an option in our last set that said dive, or it was like
yeah, you could
just
dive in. Yeah,
dive
just go
toward the
for it,
world.
Yeah.
If you do that, you will end the game. There are places in this, there are many places in the game where if you do something really wacky, we will try to warn you, but you can just game over death.
I
if
like
you do
that.
something
So it's like a
crazy.
choose your own adventure book. Then
Yep.
you can all of a sudden hit
Yep.
that page and you're like, you're done. No, you can't go any further.
Yep.
I almost picked that one just to test. I should
Oh.
have. I should have.
You should have done it.
It's sort of like in Wasteland 2 when you start off in the scene with the funeral, and if you take a shovel and try to dig up the body, the game
Yeah.
is pretty much right there.
Yep. Let's try to remember what happened. I mean, I can't imagine waking up in this body and just falling through the air, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of memories like this in the game. So
It's hazy. You were in a tall passageway, its sides slicked with dew, the air warm and moist, as if you were caught in the breath of a giant organism. You remember fleeing in fear and exhilaration, laughing through the terror. What was it that pursued you?
Okay, so you kind of get glimpses, memories.
You know, I was going to add one thing also to keep in mind that we're not going to give any real spoilers away today, other than what happens in the first hour of gameplay.
Good-
So if
good
you
point.
consider the first hour a spoiler, then it is. But we're not going to give anything beyond that.
Yeah.
unless you make a slip, and we just happen to say something that we weren't supposed to say.
Something ancient and cold, its coiling power, the promise of oblivion. Its shadowed tendrils struck at you, and the walls where they landed were torn apart utterly, destroyed beyond any hope of repair. You leapt into a membranous cocoon and fell from the station, the moon, and then you were empty. But who were you? What was that creature? A word surfaces in your thoughts, and you seize it before it vanishes. Sorrow. The world fills your sight. You're about to hit.
This dialogue, by the way, was written by Colin McComb.
The sorrow. Try to remember the sorrow.
It hurts your mind to recall, but you push past it, a creature of the forgotten world seeking you out across the centuries. But it's not you it seeks, is it? It sought the man whose memories
That's
you
right.
shuffle through now, and you realize suddenly that you are not him.
It's just like making a murderer.
Indeed.
You
Sorrow
were-
plays a big role in this.
Who? Who were you?
As I continue to fall, I'm going to try to arrest the fall one more time.
Okay.
There is nothing for you to grab hold of,
Yeah.
and the resistance of your body can only do so much against the insistent grasp of the earth. As you vainly try to grasp,
I think you're
going
gonna
to
kill us, Tal.
I should just think.
This is not sounding good.
All right. You see the watery grave that lies ahead of you,
Wait,
and
you plummet toward a domed structure of glass or crystal floating in a bay, and a strangely blurred woman and a man are pointing at you. A mass of colors rushes from his outstretched arm, enfolding you, but it's too late.
Oh no.
You were falling too fast. With a sickening thump, you destroy the glass structure. You hear some strange engine howl as its balance is forever altered, and then darkness.
and we awake
Well.
into the game.
We made it.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what state we'll be in, but we made it.
Is he narrating? I guess he's not. Well, it says you fell. You remember falling toward the curve of the world. The ground leapt up to claim you. Impact. You should be dead. If so, this is a strange death. There is no peace here, and your mind aches, struggling to form simple thoughts. This doesn't seem like death, nor like any kind of life you recognize. So you're not in the regular world right now.
I really like the cool undulating
Oh yeah.
there that you got going in the background.
Well, if you like undulation,
Yeah. You're gonna like
we got
this
more
thing.
coming.
Tons of it.
We're just getting going.
The undulation engine.
All right, so I can walk around a little bit, and as you can see, there's something that's a weird drop of fluid that's coming from the ceiling every once in a while. And the only thing I can interact with is this. So let's do that. Jumbled thoughts cloud your head as you study the empty bowl before you. Drops of liquid fall from the ceiling, spattering on the ground next to the bowl. The light from every drop is reflected in the bowl's rounded hollow, as if it hungers for that light and needs to be filled. Yet the bowl remains dry. Another drop falls from the ceiling and splashes across the pylons, wasted.
Oh, we got to examine that bowl.
All right. You trace your fingers across the slippery, overlapping scales that spiral up from the bottom of the bowl. The sharp-toothed rim plucks at your skin. It's going to be tricky to move this bowl without slicing your fingers on the edge. You might have to put some effort into it. Reflected light streaks across the surface of the bowl as another droplet falls from the ceiling.
I'm gonna use my might. I'm gonna carefully move the bowl beneath the liquid.
So this, let's do this. This is the first example of something called a difficult task. And the way these work, these are gameplay challenges in the midst of dialogue. So you can see here, this one uses might, which you just picked the one that said might. And you have 7 of 9 might left right now. Oh, I'm sorry, no, you don't. You have 9 of 9, but if you choose to just leave it, it's a challenging task, and if you choose to just leave it as a challenging task, then you won't reduce your might at all, but it will be a little bit difficult.
Hard, right.
And to give you a sense, that bar, if we were to represent from left to right being 100, you can see it's a little over the 50%
Right.
mark, and you get it closer to 100.
And then if you go over here, you can apply a level of effort, which will reduce your might by 2, but the task will be a little easier. It'll be moderate.
Let's go ahead and do that. Let's make it moderate. This seems like a...
Oh, you still failed.
Oh.
The edges of the bowl tear at your flesh as you seize it. You grit through the pain, though, hauling the bowl over to the glowing pool of fallen light.
Hey, I got hurt, but it's still there.
You took a damage. But that's all right. And
Accomplished what we wanted to do.
there is something cool that happens as a result of you getting hurt, though.
It's subtle.
Yeah. Blood trails from your fingers into the hungry depths of the bowl. Drop by drop, it fills. Your blood mixing with the light until the air itself takes on a strange reddish hue. Ripples spread across the blurred outline of your reflection. So this whole place is red
Lit up
now
now.
because you hurt yourself.
Complete with undulation.
A sanguine radiance, of course.
Yep, because you got hurt. Now
your blood.
a voice is calling from somewhere high above, beyond the reaches of the spreading light. I think
right.
there's VO for this.
Hello? Oh, Skist, you're dead, aren't you? No, that can't be right. If he were dead, I would be too. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear anything. Are you even there? Well, if you can hear me, it means you're still alive. But you'd already know that, wouldn't you? Look, I'm just going to assume we're both alive and want to stay that way, all right? So here's what you have to do. I can't get to you, so you need to build a way up to me. I don't know how you're going to do that. I mean, this is your mind. It's not like I have a map. Ah, this is your mind. I bet your memories are down there.
Neat.
Find them, and you'll repair the path up to where I am. Are you there? I'm talking to myself here.
Scream, I'm here.
I'm here.
Did you say something?
No.
Was that even you? I can't tell. It doesn't matter. Just build a path up. Then we can face this mess together, and you won't be alone. I won't be alone.
And that's it. He fades.
I feel so alone now.
Yeah?
I'm glad you guys are here with me.
We'll take care of you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, now something cool is going to happen.
form a little path.
And the soundtrack, I think, is just beautiful. You know, Mark Morgan is doing the soundtrack for this, and he did the original Planescape Torment, and of course he worked on the Fallout series and Wasteland 2. And he's just outdoing himself with this one. It's just beautiful.
It's great to, although obviously a lot of new members of the team, it's great to really be able to work with some of the folks who originally contributed to that the first project as well, right? Because you really get a lot of the things that they learned and a lot of the design choices that they were kind of worked out in that time. I'm sure they bring to the table and able to tell stories, like you said, not exactly in the exact same universe, but around the same philosophies and ideas.
I think with entertainment in general too, there's a certain magic where everything just clicks together, comes together, and to have a lot of the same team working together just sort of increases our ability to make that magic happen.
Absolutely. All right, let's go check that out.
All right. So you've got an orb here. The air thickens with each step you take toward this watery orb. And whispering voices flit across one of the countless aching gates in your mind. And you see these two figures swimming down through the orb as though it is a fathomless ocean. One vanishes, the other seems to be struggling or perhaps drowning.
Might didn't work out so well for me last time. I'm going to try to use my speed this time to rescue the swimmers.
So I'll show you what happens. You want to put extra effort or just leave it as it is?
Let's do a little extra effort. I want to succeed at this one. Yes!
Success! So now, something you'll notice is happening here. This is the beginning of our character creation process. So we sort of do a subtle in-game character creation. So as you're choosing, the game is sort of looking at the way you're choosing to handle these situations, and it's increasing your stat pool based on what you just did.
So I got a success, and I get a little bit better in that because I used that successfully.
And you see we're going to go through a series of things. This is the most subtle, and it'll get more overt as we play about creating who your character is, which is going to completely change what you're going to see in the game.
Gotcha.
So you're catching the little swimmer, and you were successful, and he pulls you down into the water.
No.
And a memory floods your mind. You stand in front of a rusted door. The air is humid and dank. You've had a moment's respite from this waterlogged hell. A bubble of stale air is your resting point. You've breathed water before, and you've lived decades beneath the waves, but this body's an air breather, and the constant pressure has been crushing you ever so subtly. Worse, your companion's mind seems to be wandering from the task at hand. He's a genius with machines, but now he seems distracted.
Interesting.
So you're experiencing something that happened, it seems, to someone else, but you don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
And let's see, so he believes that his device can get you through the corroded door, but he's merely staring at it. What do you want to do?
Well, I don't really want to deceive him, and I don't really want to threaten him. I like the idea of trying to cast a spell.
Cool. That's what I do too. So you mumble a few words, drawing power from the air around you until a solution appears in your mind. You snatch the device from his hands, rewire it, and shove it back at him. Oh, he says, examining your work. Sorry, I was trying to improve the thing. He waves the device at the door, and the stale air of your bubble freshens as the door swings open.
Oh.
An alarm. Moments later, you're underwater again, and your hands are closing around a strange artifact that seems somehow familiar. It hovers above a pedestal, writhing and spinning as if alive. An electric current runs through your fingers as your hand crosses the vertical plane of the pedestal, and an iridescent field coalesces so fast that the wave of pressure dazes you for a moment. The rising pulse of a sonar alarm ripples through the water. The guards won't be far behind.
I mean, I know what I gotta do. I gotta use that device. I gotta use that cipher that's in my belt.
Good call.
I gotta go for it. I'm not running.
Can't run.
Nope. All right. So you used your device. It looks like a few can be used against the guards, but it will also turn your skin to synth steel or the surrounding water to boiling wax. Hardly ideal. Finally, you find a small silver sphere. Setting the sphere in place, you kick desperately for the safety of a nearby alcove. And it whirls and unfolds into a spiraling vortex. The sphere at its center speaks a few polite words in an ancient language, then begins draining the surrounding water into itself with alarming speed. The approaching guards shout, then scream as they too are sucked into the whirlpool and ripped to pieces.
Yes.
You allow yourself a fleeting smile, but are all too aware that more alarms are going off in the distance.
All right, this is not good.
And the memory ends.
And to your point earlier about this not being your typical high fantasy,
Yeah, this is
I think this is
definitely one of those concepts where you have to kind of let yourself go and just kind of see where the path takes you in a game like this. And it's I think it's very interesting to jump in and, like we just saw, like you're a body that's falling from the sky.
Yep.
All of a sudden, like you have no idea how you got there. It's very interesting to uncover that.
So something interesting here, we have a lot of these throughout the game, these examinables. So I can click on things, and you see countless scratches and wounds mar the surface of this door. Someone made a great effort to get inside with it, to no avail. And you could do this on a number of these to sort of understand this place better. We use these a lot as sort of, I mean, they're optional, but they're little storytelling tools to enrich the world, and they're all over the place. We've written tons of these.
Yeah, just give you a little more detail about the world that you're exploring.
And there's just some things that the written word provides that you can't do with audio all the time.
So now we're going to be, there's a couple more of these. Do you want to go through them in detail, or do you want to skim through them?
We can skim real quick, so,
Yeah, let's get to the crisis, since it's a very different game experience.
All right, speed or intellect?
Speed or intellect. Let's do intellect. Let's bump it up one.
Bump it up.
Yeah.
So in the same way, you're going through these scenarios, and it's all based upon how you're handling it is really setting up who you are.
Exactly. I like that kind of character development because it's not like you're picking points to distribute. You're actually kind of doing things the way you probably are going to play the game anyway.
Exactly.
So it kind of leads you into it that way. Let's see. Draw attention to the hidden details. Use your charm to persuade her, or convince her with your wisdom of yours. I'm going to use my charm.
All
I
right.
want a reminder of the time constraints here. Construct his other ideas. What's the matter with it? I'm going to do number 2. Examine the construct for mechanical faults.
So
right.
one of the things, as the writers put this thing together, each of these memories, as you can see, has a series of choices afterward, and they're keeping track of all your choices. And what we did is they sort of created a little matrix of all the possible choices that you could make, and we end up giving you some options as to the first part of your character sheet. You'll see this in a moment at the end of this once it's finished, based on the choices you made. And we go to the last one.
Like I was saying, I really like character creation like this because it's not super mechanical. It's you're involved. You're making choices already.
It's organic and natural.
Intellect or mind? I'm going to do intellect again. I'll bump it up.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I hate to fail.
Critical success. What's interesting about critical success is that means that the extra points you just put in, you don't actually lose.
Gotcha.
They come back.
Great. Fantastic. I figure I'll want a very intelligent character in this world to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, trade blows with the giant. Well, I haven't been really working on my might, so I don't know about that. I'm going to duck under the giant swing and attack before he can strike.
Cool.
Be crafty. All right, so time the attack right. And, knock him to the ground, crack the door open to sneak past him, or charge through, counting your defenses to protect him. I am going to try to sneak past him.
All right.
So you're smart and sneaky.
Yes.
And we'll see in a second your choices will reflect that. All right.
If only I could have done this when I was born.
Right? Everybody should have a labyrinth they can start in. So this is this mirror that is the final exit. Actually, if you step up to it, you can see your character in it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is neat.
So now we're going to get the last of the character creation. So you're seeing a vast crowd of people, exact copies of you, shoving, arguing, and a few of them step forward to represent the possible people that you could be. And here are your 3 options based on your choices.
Gotcha. So this is basically your look of the game. I'm going to point to the doppelganger with the mystical symbol on its brow.
Nice. That's the one I always choose, too.
I did too. And it's more than your look.
Peas
too.
in a pod right here,
Yeah.
guys.
Right?
So it's more than a look.
Who
it's
doesn't
also,
go for the mystical symbol? I mean, come on.
So this is there's in Numenera there are 3 main options that you're choosing in character creation. One of them is the descriptor, and that's what you're just doing here. And then there's then there's your class, and there's your focus. So this first part chooses your descriptor. You'll choose your class coming up pretty soon, and then your focus once you get a little further into the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, character creation all doesn't happen right now. There's a bit, and you go a little bit. You'll choose another part later, and then much further on, you'll do the last part.
You are now
Oh,
mystical.
cool. And now you get restored.
Yes.
Okay, so these are things that refill over time. Then too, after a scenario or you do something, you can get your points back.
Yep. Typically, you have to do you either have to do a short rest or a sleep to restore all of your points. And on to Fathom 1.
Yep.
A spectral figure stands in front of us.
Yes. That is the Spectre. And this is the guy who was talking to you down in the labyrinth.
Gotcha. All right.
Do we have VO for this? I guess
Skist.
we don't. Skist.
Not yet for
You
this.
made it. Listen, I know you've got a dozen questions, but we're not through the worst yet. If you want to survive, you have to attune yourself. It's a process that, well, it's hard to explain, but I'll walk you through it.
All right. So how do I get attuned? I'm ready to accept this. I'm
jump
moving
right in.
forward.
All right. So basically, he's telling you that there's these 5 tanks that you can see. Each one of them contains a creature, and you have to attune yourself to each of these creatures. Each one of them represents one of our 5 tides. They're in stasis. Do you want to ask any of these questions, or you want to just get rolling?
Let's get rolling, man.
All right. We are ready.
I already figured I got so many questions already. It doesn't matter if I ask them right now.
Right. Okay. So
I'll learn by doing.
Choose a tank. Where do you want to start?
Uh,
These represent, by the way, our 5 tides. We've got the red, gold, blue, silver, indigo.
I'm fascinated by the gold and the indigo, but let's start at the gold.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are drawing my attention immediately.
All right. So there is
A fire white.
a radiant humanoid, a fire white.
So fire white in the tube.
And so it's kind of like what we did earlier, where you are seeing through this creature's eyes. You're kind of going into an experience that it had.
Gotcha.
And you can essentially tell it to handle the situation in any one of these different ways.
Gotcha.
The other thing to keep in mind here is each one of these is associated in some way with one of our tides. So you're not stuck with the gold tide when you're doing this.
Gotcha.
You could choose indigo or you could choose blue, although at this point you don't really know the differences between them.
Exactly. I'm going to sacrifice the white to ensure that the other survives. Number 5.
So I did the same thing.
We're so similar,
We must
Brian.
be nice. We just must be nice guys.
It's hard for me to play bad in an
Yeah.
RPG. It
Yeah.
really is hard for me to be an evil guy in an RPG because I just can't I get so involved in the world, I just can't bring myself to do it. That's not what I would do.
But of course, we have to provide for the people that want to play
Oh, yeah.
as complete a-holes.
Those evil bastards.
All right, so that aligned you a little bit to one of the tides, and I'll give you some inside information and tell you that aligned you to the indigo tide.
Oh, maybe that's why I was drawn to indigo.
Yep.
All right.
So now something terrible is happening, and you're about to see it. Oh no, it's found us. The sorrow
Oh,
is
the
here.
sorrow. We know the sorrow. We've thought about the sorrow.
All right, so he put a little protection on you to try to keep you alive.
Thank you, Spectre.
All right.
No relation to Phil.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, or Warren.
Sorry, I couldn't help
Either
it.
way.
Oh, yeah, right. Or Warren.
So the Spectre is kind of like your meat shield. So he can affect these things, but he can't really do the tasks for you.
Right.
So your character has to run around in a line with the different tanks, while he can try to do things to keep them off you.
That sounds great to me.
And this is the combat system that you're seeing here. So this,
Right.
as we call it, it's a crisis. And so we sort of handcraft the combat system. So there's no real mob, fights. It's that each one is sort of a unique experience, and there's a lot of different ways of handling it other than just straight up fighting too.
Right.
There's a lot of things in the world that you can interact with that can affect it, and so it's like I said, it's a very handcrafted experience.
Yeah, but very tactical.
So
yeah,
one thing that your Spectre can do is he can cast the Spectre's Mark, and if he does that,
let's do it. Draw the ire.
yeah. All right, so now this thing, the Sorrow Fragment, is going to go after the Spectre. It won't go after you, which gives you a chance to get down here and do something.
Let's do it.
Let's send him off this way.
And I handled that situation completely different too.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
I didn't even use the Spectre's Mark.
So how did you
Not
do
once.
it, Brian?
What's his the blast?
Oh, the Spectre's Blast?
Yeah.
So you went like straight on.
I just kept just kept blasting them back, and then see those little twirling tubes.
Yeah.
Those are actually, if you go mess around with, they're little teleporters. So I was constantly pushing him back and teleporting
And
around.
moving from place to place.
But there's a lot of different ways of handling this.
I'll show you the.
And of course, you can get killed trying to do it too.
I'll show you the blast.
Oh, okay.
There
So
we
it
go.
just
So
moves
you
them
can
back
stun
away.
them up.
Stun them.
But more and more are going to come. So, actually, why don't you run around? This is a good point if you want to ask me questions while he runs around and goes to the different ones, since it's repetitive from he's got to jump around.
Sure thing. Well, I actually just want to start out. Somebody who had played the original, like, what made you? It was such a weird concept, a cult classic, very well, critically acclaimed. Not necessarily like something that was a huge seller, though, and probably not something that necessarily maybe even a lot of people, the people who remember it very fondly, but maybe not a lot of people remember it. What made you decide to say, hey, we need to do a spiritual successor to this?
Well, one thing to keep in mind too is that Fallout 1 and 2 were not huge sellers either.
That's true.
Right, and so it was the strength of those worlds that I loved, and of course Bethesda's taken it to new heights. And for Planescape Torment, I've always been drawn towards, and it was these guys that pitched it to me, so I didn't come up with this. But when Chris and the team wanted to use we had the rights to the D&D license at the time. We had the straight up the worlds of TSR, or now WotC, but there was the Planescape universe, which was completely bizarre. And when I was a kid, I'd watch movies like Phantasmagoria and all this kind of strange stuff, or Phantasm, I think it was called.
Yeah, Phantasm.
Phantasm,
Right?
yeah. And that was the comic, I think, was called Phantasmagoria. Anyway, so I've always been attracted to that sort of stuff. So it's completely not mainstream, completely weird, and I think that was kind of the fun and interplay, that we could experiment and do those types of things. And I find that to be the case all over again here. Like, this is not something that you would typically get funded by a publisher. I can't even imagine going and making the pitch to this. But the fans get it, and they want this kind of a totally original stuff. So I just have always gravitated towards it.
So you guys were saying you have about 80,000 backers now on the Kickstarter, I believe. About 5 million raised for it already. Were you surprised by just how big it got?
Yeah, I was scared. We had done the Wasteland 2 campaign, and that one. I mean, I knew that if that failed, to me, the single player RPG, I don't know how they would have got funded if that hadn't worked. So there was a lot of pressure on that. But then we came to this one, and I was already working with Colin on he was doing some of the writing for Wasteland 2.
He was on Wasteland 2, right?
Right, and the way production works, you want to have the next movie ready to go. You want to have the next game ready to go, so the team can roll on effortlessly onto it. And so I knew I wanted to have it geared up, but how are we going to do it? So and it was Colin said we should work with Monty, who did the original Planescape. I thought, well, that makes perfect sense. And then I loved his universe right off the bat. And then let's get Mark Morgan involved. Let's kind of bring the band back together. But I was surprised. I mean, I think we did $1 million in the first 7 hours. I think it was phenomenal. I mean, so that was a happy day at An Exile for sure. So I was surprised, and I was worried too, because with Kickstarter, any kind of crowdfunding, there's always a million things that could go wrong. And the fans they had a very fond memory of this. So the pressure's on for us to deliver something really special. But I feel good about that.
Well, I guess you're really living up to your name, though, that you're able to do these projects completely on your own. You're in exile, you're out of the traditional publisher, mode, and you can really be able to experiment with some things and really bring back some interesting things back into the surface. What did you learn, after Wasteland 2? What did you learn in developing single-player RPGs now these days?
Well, let me think about, So much of these things are so wholly unique that we learn lessons from one project to the other, but there's also a great amount of it that's brand new. And so I think the most important thing is that we come up with a strong vision for what we want to do. I think a lot of people think crowdfunding is sort of that we're going to just take every idea from anybody and let's all vote on it, and that's what we're going to do. And we have a very strong vision, but we do rely on our audience to help us sort of tune it in. I think I read a book one time that talked about how you start a creative endeavor, but at some point it pivots and becomes the audience's, and you've got to make that pivot. And so that's why when we go out for early access or to our beta backers, it's really important that we really listen to those people. But I think that the lessons for us is really about communication within the studio of these products that are just absolutely massive. One thing like with Wasteland 2 and with this, there'll be no one person in the office that knows everything in the product.
Sure.
It's a virtual impossibility. You just can't remember all this too, and all people are sort of on their own unique tasks, changing things constantly. So it's really how to sort of educate the people to have a process and a sensibility and a way of thinking that can make these kind of games, and then they become much bigger than any one person could ever do. I think that's the most important part about making these kinds of games.
Yeah. What's the thing that excites you the most about bringing Torment back? About bringing this out to a whole new audience who, almost 20 years later.
I just love making games that they're still talking about 20 years later. Really, that's what it comes down to. That's what's great. At Interplay, I'm very proud of the stuff that we did at that time, and Fallout, of course, is the biggest one, but Planescape Torment and lots of other games that we were involved with. But just to make something that is artistic enough and deep enough and nuanced enough that there will be people sitting here 2 decades from now still playing it and analyzing it.
Well, I think that's the impact that this game had on me. It really did explore topics and delve into philosophy and the nature of being more than any other video game I think I'd ever played up until that point. And I think we're seeing a lot of that now because we do have things like Kickstarter, self-funding, and independent developers who are able to explore a little bit of a vision that's outside of that normal box. But yeah, it was one of those things that really stuck with me after playing Planescape for the first time. So I really look forward to seeing this.
I think anyone in the creative business wants to do things outside the ordinary. It's like you see the stars, they'll do their big action film, but then they'll do these pet projects that are really important to them. And I look at this kind of thing in that same way, that we're able to do things that we can be really proud of, that it wasn't just for a paycheck, it was something that we really believed in and wanted to do something special and artistic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we talk about games as art, these days, and it's definitely something that I feel passionate about, and I think that games are art. I assume you feel the exact same way, right, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. They are art, and there's so much nuance to them that makes it that. That's the great thing about RPGs too. I think that one of the ones that stand the test of time are the ones where I saw people playing the original Wasteland 1 still, 1988, and they're still discovering new things that they didn't know about, and they're on their 10th playthrough. And I think that you'll find with this game, with Wasteland 2, you could literally play it for 10 or 20 years and you'll still find something new every single time.
Now, I know this isn't, it's not a continuation of the original, and because, you don't have the full license there, but will we see any kind of nods at all? Wasteland and Wasteland 2 were a little bit different because obviously you had the full license, but just kind of wondering if there's anything that ties that bind.
I think there was a few nods. I think George, I don't know. I remember Colin talking about putting a few things in, and I'm not quite sure where we fell on that.
Yeah, again, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything.
Yeah, no, right,
just,
There are a couple things. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not spoiler for anybody in the game. I just, it's just nice to see that there are still there.
But I think the thing that gravitated towards people, the first one, like I said, is just the fact that it is like just a great piece of fiction, and that it is so strange and it's so outside the ordinary course of fantasy that's what people really loved about it. And it wasn't about need to use combat to get past everything. And so all of those points are things, sensibilities that we made sure to capture with this.
Well, Colin has a degree in philosophy.
That's right.
Right? So, and to me, thinking about the original game and what I look forward to playing this one too, is that whenever I went to sleep after playing it, I wasn't just thinking about the story that was in the game. It made me think about wider, bigger things, right? About the world, about the universe, about how we all fit in. So, again, I think that's a really interesting.
If you remember, the tagline for this is "What does one life matter?"
Yeah.
And that's what it's really exploring. And on top of that, you're going to find yourself in a lot of ethical and moral dilemmas and how you handle things. And it's really going to make you think, especially because you try to, like I said, you're trying to play it as a nice guy. We're going to put you in situations where it's going to be difficult. You'll do something. It's kind of the for the greater good, right? It's the tribe versus the individual and making those kinds of choices, and those are difficult.
I've had to deal with customer service for my cable. I understand that you can't always be the nice guy.
Yeah.
I understand.
So here we've come to the end of the crisis.
We did it. Right on, George.
What do you want to? So there's all this power coming out of this thing. You could send them out at the fragments, or you could just kind of let it flow wherever it wants to go.
I'm gonna. Ooh, this is a hard one because I don't know if I'm gonna strengthen the Sorrow by giving sending power, or if it will actually hurt him. Oh, what the heck? Let's direct the power at the fragments of the Sorrow.
All right. Now we'll see what happens.
Destroying some.
And there they go.
Poof.
So
All
some of them got knocked down into the labyrinth, and they'll be back, but some of them are gone.
All right.
So now it's drawing you into this chamber.
I did the other one, by the way, in this one. We weren't on the same page there.
Let it
Hey,
flow.
that's what makes life interesting.
There was a whole lot of other things and choices he was doing while we were talking.
Oh, of course. No, and people will explore that. Ooh, I love this too. So there's a whole city on top of a whale.
Yeah,
It's cool.
That's
isn't
really cool concept art.
This is actually a creature from Monty Cook's setting. So this is what's called a mirror. You'll encounter a few of these throughout the game where you are experiencing the world through someone else's eyes. It's kind of like a memory, and it becomes much more important as we move forward. These are very good storytelling, but obviously they're written in sort of a choose your own adventure style.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of text. So we can fly through it if you want, or we could read some of it. What do you want to do?
How much time do we have?
I say we go through it. We have what do we have? About another 20 minutes left.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't want to ruin too much of the story. I want people to be able to experience it for themselves. But let's kind of go through some of the settings and.
And I would add one other thing that you would be at a completely different mirror based upon the choices you made.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about some of the other ones, but you went on the more indigo route, which is what I did. So I got the same one as you.
Yeah.
Just completely different ones.
Okay. Do you want me to read some of this?
Let's let's
Maybe hit just the gist of it. So
exactly.
Okay. Well, this one's somewhat new to me too, because like you, Brian, I haven't really gotten to this one yet.
Okay.
But obviously, you're on the back of a whale. I think what's happening here is there is a disease colony on top of this whale, and
That's
it's
right.
coming
It's called
towards
plague.
Sagas Cliffs. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's like a plague ship, but it's a whale.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He wanders off.
All right.
Let's gather any gear. I like to be prepared. I'm a good Boy Scout.
Okay.
Those numbers, by the way, just temp for.
Oh sure,
for
yeah.
This.
Again, this is early access. Obviously,
right.
you know,
Missing
it's
sound
not,
effects and UI elements.
Exactly. You got a ways to go, but it's great that backers as well as people who want to play it early on Steam will be able to. Let's use the climbing claws.
All right.
I'm gonna climb that whale side. Search for survivors. Because of crystal into a crowd, make quicker than attack the crowd.
They're all fighting over food.
Yep. I'm gonna number 4. I'm gonna kick the food to the crowd and see that the woman is safe. Gain entry so I can gain entry to a window, cut the mob. Call out to the mob and urge them to seek an accord with those in the Stern Castle, or clear out the mob and open the gates with the concussive crystal. It's a mob though. I don't think calling out to them is gonna help. Screw it. Let's use the concussive crystal.
All right.
Let's do it. So a big blast deafens, destroys. I'm adjusting to the crystal exploding. Welcome to the Folkhaven Emissary, she says. I'm the speaker. We must dock in your city. We have desperate need of healing. Forget about healing. We'll destroy this one if you do not turn around. Your plague will not reach Sagas Cliffs. Let's turn away from that. I'm going to go for number 4. I want to help your people, but we must turn away, or the cannons will destroy the whale. There's eyes all. You have spoken, and I have heard. She lowers herself to her knees, but I again implore you, for the far-famed city, to aid us in the hour of need. The lives of your folk, the fate of the haven, turns upon your word. There's 100,000 people on Sagas Cliff. They're going to be put in harm's way. Think of both the city and the village. I will do what I can do to help, short of endangering my own people. I'm going to do number 2. I must think of both the city and your village. I will do what I can to help, and short of endangering my own people. So he has the gift for 20. She shakes her hand, lower the shield. Well singer of the well will turn, and we will survive. Must be some other way to stop the disease. What if it fails? No law, a decent person will permit such a crime against a child.
Okay.
Oh man,
we're watching you now on this decision.
Yeah,
this is
no.
where Brian,
So-
you made a controversial decision.
Yeah,
didn't you?
So we're,
So,
this is going to say everything about you, Tal.
So basically, I can sacrifice the life of one child to hopefully save the lives of many. I mean, well, I got to go the Spock route. I have to do it.
You have no choice.
The lives of many are worth more than just one. So,
So 4.
even a child. So 4. Let's do it.
That
Let's
is
do
that is the indigo choice, by the way. So you
There
just
you
got some
go.
more indigo points.
Can't believe you'd kill a child, Tal.
But look, I saved all these people. I don't know if it was a child. I don't know if it really was. Maybe
Is that what you're going to hide behind?
that's what I'm going to say.
All right. Okay.
Maybe the changing God was in him.
Yeah, well, maybe he was possessed.
I'm going to sneak again. I'm a sneaky guy. Number 1. How do you steer the whale? Give him trick him into turning the whale while giving him... Ooh, I like number 3. Trick him into turning the whale without giving them... No, hold on, wait. I thought it said while giving him the
That's what I
inoculation.
thought at first, too.
I'm just going to... life decisions, Brian and George.
Stuff.
I'm going to give him the inoculation.
Yeah, we don't make these easy for you.
Exactly. You quickly explain what the healer has given you. You hand the inoculation to the whale singer. He presses the needle through his skin, blending the serum with his blood. There's no change, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say number 2. You have to safeguard my song and thus the haven. I'm going to number 2. Tell him must turn the whale before it's destroyed. So we hear the cannons. The gesture to the cannons. We say, hey, they're up there. Number 1, how do you steer the whale? I want to know how to do this. I may have to take over. Number 1, tell me more about the whale. I'd like to get information. Oh, jeez. I either have to kill him to ensure the whale will not be turned back to the cliffs.
There's any patterns here with you?
I know, right? I feel like I'm just asking more about the whale, and we're just getting closer and closer. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm feeling a 2 in your future.
Screw it. Go to number 2.
Yep.
Kill him.
You're brutal.
Man, you heard your sword.
You're brutal. I didn't even do that.
I had
All
no
right. That
choice.
was just okay.
I had no
That
choice.
was too low for me. I don't know. That was not the indigo choice.
No, well, actually, it might have been hardcore indigo.
Well,
The
really?
changing God was part of
might
it.
have
Was
been.
in him too, Brian. I'm going to keep saying this.
So now you could kill the whale if you
Oh,
want.
jeez. I'm not going to kill the whale. The whale's too cool.
Notice how it kind of draws you a little bit at a time.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, little.
I'm going to return to my dad.
Yeah, you're in strange waters now.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I didn't go there.
All right. And that was it. And we're back. Or we will be.
And then after this, you can jump to.
After this, we'll be in the Broken Dome.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, I mean,
That was great. Did you see that? Scattered them.
Let's go to the Broken Down. I think I'm ready to go. Farewell. I want to see a new location. We only got about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Saved your
hopefully
mind,
we'll
but
get there
we're not
because
through the wasteland.
the game really
I don't remember. First,
opens up.
you need to get
It-
back
it-
to your
right
body.
now, it feels like this
When
is
you
not
wiped out those
representative of
sorrow
all of the
fragments,
game.
I
You're
kept
going to get to a
them
major
in
city,
space, just over
talking
there.
with people,
And
right?
I'll bet anything.
Yeah, as anybody
Quests,
knows
inventory. It's going to be.
who plays RPGs,
Right.
using very slow, and you're finding out about the game mechanics, the world. You're educating yourself in the very beginning.
Right.
So.
These are just
It's
slices of
supposed to
different
stop
kinds
the
of gameplay,
sorrow
but
once
the game
and
has
for all.
just begun, about to open up.
So, important objective information here. He's saying you need to find something called a resonance chamber. And he's telling you to get into it. It's supposed to stop that thing that's coming after you.
Okay.
It'll look a lot like the tank you used to attune yourself, a glass sarcophagus thing, except in the real world, it's inside a crystal dome somewhere with 5 mechanical arms around it and a metal ring set in the floor. I'm sure you can't miss it. Use it like you used this one, and we should be fine. Yeah, just fine. Good luck.
Of course, just fine.
I'm going to speed through this.
Just so long as you don't kill any whales.
What do you?
That's where I draw the line,
Yeah,
Brian.
no, I can see
killing whales.
children, men,
it's
whales.
fine.
That's it. You draw
Whales,
the line. I understand.
that's a problem.
No.
Let's see here. So, what class do you want to play, Tal?
I fancy myself as probably more of a intelligent, magic, mechanical, techno.
Sounds like a nano to you.
Nano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
This is the part you're gonna shorten up. Yeah.
Leave them on. Become a nano.
All right, here we go.
George finds that section a little tedious. We're gonna tighten
Tighten
that
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's the great thing too about early access. Like you said, you gather feedback, you kind of listen, and you can tweak based around that. See how people are playing.
Right.
And
And there's some things that we don't like, but we want to at some point get it out in people's hands, and so some of the things will be obvious to us, and others will be very thankful we put it out and heard what we did.
you know, it's just
We made a lot of changes on Wasteland 2. You know, I mean, early access. A lot of people that there's talk about the use of early access, and if you're really listening to the input, it's fantastic, right? But if you're going to put it out and not make changes, then don't do it.
yeah.
You know, that's really what it comes down to.
Well, yeah, it shouldn't be there as like you're saying, it should be there so you can actually hear from the community and kind of use it as
Right.
for lack of a better word, a beta test. It's not really that, but it's just kind of
Right.
to see if you're serving the right audience then at that point, right? Okay, so where are we now, George?
So now we're in the broken dome. We just
in the
crashed through
broken
the ceiling, and our body sort of reshaped itself. And now these two characters have discovered us.
Okay.
And these are our first
Alagern.
two companions, Alagern and Calistige, who's the wacky red lady.
Very cool. I like the more undulating, by the way. So
Yeah, you'll like Calistige.
It's that technology where
that undulating engine. It's great.
So they are arguing a bit. They're not big fans of each other. So here you go.
So this is something I've enjoyed about the original as well, and about Wasteland, and even Bard's Tale too. A lot of the games that you've worked on, a lot of the RPGs, they've been serious, but they've always kind of also had this personality and a little tongue-in-cheek and jokes, and it's like real life, right? Not everything in real life is always serious, and if it is,
sometimes
you need to break out.
the best humor is in a very serious situation.
Absolutely.
Too. And we find the companions are great because they can bring a lot of personality to the table. And certainly that's the case with this. And Chris Avalon's writing one of them. Patrick Rothfuss is writing one of the companions. Who else? Nathan Long.
Nathan Long's been doing some writing on
Right.
one of the companions.
Yeah.
We've got Gavin, who's another one of our new writers, but absolutely great, brilliant writer.
Yeah. The companions just have so much personality, and there's so many nuances there they're
Right.
reacting to that you just would never be able to pick it up on a first-time playthrough.
Cool.
What do you want to say here?
I'm no ordinary mortal. I'm gonna. What do you mean I'm no ordinary mortal? Really don't know. I'm starting to think.
Oops.
For me, no, that's fine. I don't need to go through basic gist. So they're like, you don't know who you are, basically, right?
So this is where they're introducing you to the idea of the changing god, and that
Gotcha.
you might be a cast-off of his.
Gotcha.
A lot of questions here that kind of get more into the changing god and the cast-offs.
Yep.
I'm going to skip through those.
Absolutely.
And go to, if falling from the sky didn't kill me, is there anything that can? An excellent question. Now she starts going on about possible ways that could kill
Okay.
you. And you have a memory, which I accidentally just skipped past, but you had a memory of something with this chamber here. The resonance chamber they were talking about is that broken thing there.
Gotcha. So you've been here before.
Well, you accidentally smashed it when you fell through the ceiling.
Gotcha.
So now you got to fix it.
Gotcha. So this is where you landed.
Yep. That crater right there.
That's your.
That's where you landed.
You're like a human meteor.
And I will skip past this. Do either of you know how to fix that crystal chamber? And he says no.
I'm sure there's a way to fix it.
But they point you to the cult of the changing god in the city, or the Order of Truth, also in the city. And of course, they're arguing with each other.
Yep.
So, you want to go with Algar and Calistige, or thanks for your help, but I'll figure this out on my own?
Let's go with Calistige.
Callie it is. Of course, for now, I think they're both going to come with you. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. We're gonna make it to the city just in time.
I think we potentially could. I'm just going to point out there are some other things
Perfect.
that you can do in here. Actually, let me do this because I need a weapon.
Gotcha. So search around. You can find things.
I'm going to get... So there's some shards on the ground from the broken crystal sarcophagus. I'm going to take one. And there we go. This gives you something too if you mess with it, but we'll leave that for people to discover.
So I know this is always a very difficult and open-ended question to ask, but how much playtime do you expect an average player to get out of it? And how much do you think a really hardcore player could get out of it who really wants to see everything?
Oh dear. There's one of our unfortunate bugs.
That's just what you deal with in a multiplayer universe. You don't know.
Yeah,
you
never
don't know which way you're going to come out.
That's the nature of Numenera.
You want to answer that one, George?
My guess right now is probably more like, for people who are actually going to read everything and go through everything, I'm guessing more like 40 to 50 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than that. Brian, do you concur?
Yeah, I do. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's if you're really sitting back and trying to absorb it, it could go longer. You know, some people they try to speed read some of this stuff. So if you're trying to speed read, you can probably get it through faster, but you're not going to absorb it all. So if you're really going at the right pace, you know, like even this this early copy is several hours longer than we thought it was going to be if you had asked us 4 weeks ago. So if anything, the times tend to go up and not down.
Yeah. And if you're me and you like actually play everything and then reload saves to see what would have happened if you'd done the other thing,
I'm going to double it.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
So we got about 5 minutes left, guys. Anything else you really want to show us?
Let me just kind of run around here. So this is kind of your introduction to the Ninth World. All this stuff is remnants of previous civilizations. It's called the Reef of Fallen Worlds around the edge of the city. So you can see parts of all kinds of ancient stuff that has accumulated here. This stuff that's falling upward into the sky. This thing here you can't get into right now, but later on you'll be able to come back and there's a quest in there. These wacky things here that are just kind of spinning around and you can mess with them. Something over here you can mess with, these hands. These are all things that you can interact with and get interesting things out of or find out interesting information.
So I love to just the look and art of the world. You know, it's not quite fantasy, but it's not quite techno. It's not. It's it's influenced by H.R. Geiger, and you have kind of, it almost looks. Like a little bit like Aliens too. You have it almost like an alien world, but it's Earth, so you have like all this like combination of things. It's just really a different landscape.
So let's go up here. The companions earlier warned me that this is a dangerous place, and my fall from the sky could actually attract some dangerous characters. So let's see what happens when I go here. So here's some guys that were sent down here to see what this falling star was, and they want to find out who it is and take that person apart. And so I am going to try. Who knows what's going to happen here? Because there's a whole bunch of different ways you can handle this situation. But I'm gonna try deceiving this guy.
We actually put a great video up of this entire sequence for one of the crises. Oh,
Critical success.
This is like a 1 in 20. Almost never does this happen. So that was great.
But we put a video up that showed all the different ways you could handle this, and I think that's what's fun. Is there's a lot. There's a lot of different ways to handle how to get out of this scene.
So this I'll kind
of give. Those poor writers.
No, they love it. They love it. So this could have gone to a combat, and there's a whole bunch of different ways of resolving that combat. I also could have just surrendered to him and said, "Yep, I'm the falling star. You can take me away," and he would have knocked me out and taken me somewhere else, and the game would start different, or this part of the game would begin differently.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we try to do is even when you quote fail, it doesn't actually end the game. It just moves things in a different direction. And he is happy that I did that. And now I have to choose one of these characters. I'll choose Callistide, you liked, right?
I did.
All right, let's do her.
She just has that neat multi.
And he's warning you not to go with her.
Yeah, they hate each other.
I love that.
She's fun.
I love that they hate each other, yet they still hang around. It's like an old married couple.
All right, so we could walk into the city, or we could wrap up. What do you want to do?
Let's just walk into the city just briefly before we have to wrap up, and that'll be probably a good place to close the curtain.
Yeah, no. Well timed, George. Well timed.
Excellent. All right, so we're walking into Circus Minor. This is actually an area that we just finished putting out a screenshot of this, so people who saw the screenshot, this will be familiar.
Very
We
neat.
got all kinds of wacky stuff happening.
Right. So this is more like what you would expect from a Baldur's Gate or Planescape Torment experience now, where you're going around and you're interacting with a lot of different people.
Yep. This is I'll just kind of run around and give a taste.
I love the thing captured in the energy dome.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorite creatures.
We have far more visual effects in this game than we did in the last one.
These guys here worship the changing god, and they're super excited to see me.
One of the Death Cheater's vessels.
What fortune, what joy. So they're the ones who want to be possessed.
Well, I'm sure they would love that, but
that
it's never going to happen. For them.
Exactly.
And then these characters here will move my quest forward a little bit. My main quest. This is this crazy clock that is.
That's really neat.
It's unstuck in time right now, and I have to do something about that. Here's another crazy creature from Numenera. I won't spoil that. And there's some booksellers down here that have some quests for me. All kinds of stuff.
Great. So this is where it really starts opening up then, I would
Yeah.
imagine, because you're going to be getting so many quests, so many different paths, so many ways to travel around the
Exactly.
world.
And we like that. We like that you're just for hours doing stuff, and all of a sudden, whoosh, and off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, I think this was a great first look. Can't wait to play more of the game, Torment Tides of Numenera. It's coming out on the 26th, is that right, for early
Yeah,
access?
26th, yeah.
So it's coming out on the 26th next week. Backers will have it sometime later this week.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for coming today.
Our pleasure.
As somebody who played the original, been really following this project and looking forward to diving in a little bit more. Hopefully, I'll be Indigo again. We'll see.
Good. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
Tal.
Thank you, George.
Thanks.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tal Blevins with IGN. We are here with Brian and George from In Exile, and we are going to be excitedly seeing some of the first parts of Torment Tales of Numenera today. This is a Kickstarter, very successful Kickstarter. You're up to about 5 million